Hi there, I'm Dustin Warnke, and welcome to this exciting tech tip segment today where we're going to talk about wounded game recovery and recovering your game after the hunt, especially when it comes to blood tracking and finding your game after you're shot. So what are some basic parameters and how does all of this basically work? Well, if you're new or old to hunting, let's talk about how each one of the weapons that we use work. We'll talk generally about gun hunting. Typically in gun hunting, an animal dies from the shock of the bullet entering the body and will a lot of times just fall over right there. That's obviously a good scenario. You don't have to go tracking for miles and miles after it. And bow hunting, an animal usually takes a little bit longer to expire because of the hemorrhaging action of the broadhead. It doesn't die from shock, it usually dies from hemorrhaging and bleeding out, or the hemorrhaging of the organs and the vital organs that broadhead contacts. That all being said, I usually make it a rule of about 15 to 30 minutes for tracking on a gun hunt. Usually on the 30-minute side though. A lot of people say, oh, 15 minutes is enough. I like to give some time. You never know, especially if you have a questionable shot. You want to wait 30 minutes or longer. So on a bow hunt, I typically like to wait 45 minutes to an hour. That's a typical rule in archery. Doesn't matter if it was a solid hit or not. Doesn't matter if you're running out of daylight or not. Give that animal time to expire. And I have different stories from both bow hunting and gun hunting that I can tell you. I'll tell you two real quick. When I was bow hunting with a hunter at DB Hunting Ranch a while back, I was actually helping him track his hog, and we're going around looking for it. Well, it turns out he got out of his stand immediately after he made the shot on this hog, maybe waited 10 minutes, maybe, and went out there and kept pushing this hog, pushing this hog, pushing this hog. This hog ran and would fall over and would gather a pile of blood. You'd see a pile of blood, then you'd see it run off again. And he kept pushing it. I bet you we've tracked that animal, that it was a sow pig of about 75 pounds, for about a mile and a half because he would not let it rest. He would not let it settle down and expire and do what it naturally does. And I bet that hog tasted really gamey too because of all the lactic acid that built in, because he was pushing that animal to exhaustion. And we finally ended up finding the animal, but having to put her down with a gun because it still was not gone. Again, that could have all been avoided if he would have given that animal some time. In gun hunting, one of my favorite stories is this last year. I just wrote an article about positive thinking in hunting and never letting, a bad experience get you down. Well, I am on a hunt with a guy who, actually a ranch owner at one of the ranches I hunt. Go out there with him, he makes a shot on a deer, and it was a spine shot, neck shot, immediately drops the deer, goes out there, leaves the gun in the truck, and comes out there, goes ahead of me. I'm going to go field dress his animal, so I just have my knife with him, but he leaves his gun in the truck. He's the hunter, remember, not me. I'm not supposed to carry a gun. I'm just there with my knife to do the field dressing. And basically, that animal, that deer literally gets up and hobbles away. By the time he gets his gun and comes back, that deer is long gone. We never found that deer. And that was just a meat deer, it was just a spike, but either way, that's a horrible way for an animal to die. Always, 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 whenever you blood track or track any kind of wounded game to recover it, make sure you carry your weapon with you. Without a doubt, carry your weapon with you when you are tracking wounded game. That's very, very crucial in that regard. Now, that all being said, let's talk about some different strategies and tips to help you with recovering your next animal. One of the things that I learned from a good friend of mine, an older hunter, a veteran hunter, he went on a hunt one time with a guy that said, let's pull over to the pharmacy or the drugstore or retail store, I don't know where they were at. Let's get us a spray bottle and let's get us a bottle of H2O2 or peroxide. So basically, he took the bottle and opened it up, poured the peroxide inside of it, and screwed it back in. And what they did when they were going out, this is a bow hunting trip, bow hunting for deer, whenever they were tracking, especially during daylight hours, they broadcast spray the peroxide, because what does peroxide do when it encounters your skin? Whenever you have any kind of cut on your skin, it foams up, right? It does the same thing on animal blood, and a lot of us don't even think about that, but probably you're at home going, oh, duh, that makes sense. So broadcast a fine mist of this. That's why using a spray bottle is important around the hunting area that you last saw your game, the last place you saw blood, especially if you lose track of where that blood is. That'll foam up. It'll tell you exactly where that blood is and keep you on the trail. So some general rules are to see where your animal last was when you shot it, see what kind of blood trail you have at the scene where you shot it, see where you last saw it, follow it to that area, and then track from there. Make sure you give it enough time to die. I am not a big fan of sitting overnight and waiting unless you absolutely have to, unless you're certain you made a questionable shot. That happens on TV a lot and a lot of these hunting shows. You know, here in Texas it gets so hot that deer or hog or whatever you're shooting could expire by then. It could spoil by then. It certainly could. So my whole goal is, as soon as you're pretty sure that you're not pushing that animal, that animal's still not alive, go in there and get it and recover it and skin it out and field dress it and do what you need to do to cool that meat down. If you're sure that animal is wounded and you were going to do nothing else but push that animal, then absolutely back out, come back a few hours later or in the morning light when it's easier to see. Always carry your weapon with you. That's very, very important. All right, so the peroxide is one thing to help you in a spray bottle. I'm even going to upgrade to a larger spray bottle. This is just what I used in my hunting pack this deer season. I've used this on hog hunts and deer hunts, and I'm very blessed to say with the equipment I use, I've not had to lose any animals here lately, but this certainly helps you with finding especially sparsely populated blood trails, especially when you're trying to barely find blood, especially at night. All right. So let's move on to hunting whenever you're doing a night track of your game you shot in the late evening during legal shooting light hours. There's some flashlights I recommend from one of my favorite flashlight companies. I'm actually pro staff for these guys. That's varmintlights.com, and I have right here the packaging for the VRL1 flashlight. This flashlight sold in Cabela's. It comes with a green and red LED that's interchangeable. It's also sold in an ultimate package through varmintlights.com that has a white LED with it. And these little LED modules are interchangeable. This is what one looks like. It's just a little brass. It looks like, we call it a pill or a module. It's just very, very small. It's interchangeable. I interchanged it right before I shot this video and before I started filming, and this is the white. So it normally comes to the green. The white gets out well over 100 yards and is not as powerful as the red or the green, but it gets the job done for long range. And I'm a big fan of using Cree LEDs, that's C-R-E-E LEDs. All of varmintlights.com's flashlights use Cree LEDs that I'm aware of, and this is an incredible, incredible hunting tool. So you can use this as a gun light or as just a regular tracking light or anything like that, but using the white LED makes it a perfect tracking light, especially for long-range tracking, navigation in the woods, so on and so forth. Newer to the market is the VRLX, and this comes in 3 different LED choices as well. You have white, red, or green, just like the VRL1. But you also have the choice of getting the white LED. This is a 500 lumen, a little bit lighter, brighter LED than the 250 it normally comes with, but I'm prototype testing this one. But this is just an example of the white LED. It's a smaller flashlight, it's more compact, it's easier to carry in your pocket, and again, this is newer to the market. It's a little bit more affordable than the VRL1, but again, the neat thing about it is the batteries are interchangeable, or this one even comes with a 3-piece adapter for AAA battery. So you can take a 3-piece AAA battery adapter or the 18650 rechargeable batteries that are in here. Or another thing you can do with this awesome flashlight with the VRLX is interchange the modules in here. Like I said, you have white, you have red, or you have green, and you can also interchange it with a new UV light. And I will turn this one on. This is not quite as impressive in the daylight as the white is, but it definitely shows through well at night. But this is great for finding blood at night and highlighting that blood, especially in the woods where there's not a lot of contamination of dust and those kind of things. It's going to point out your blood, and this is probably one of my best tracking flashlights that I own is this one. So there's a lot of speculation of, does UV light work? Do you just use a regular white light? And I went back and forth with varmintlights.com, or do we even carry something like this? And I'm really thinking the UV light's a great idea to at least have in your hunting pack. You can always go back to the white light if you don't like using the UV light. But again, this is a great short-range light for finding, the blood right in front of you and picking up blood, even if you don't have peroxide with you, or even if you do. So this is a good way to highlight blood on your trail. So certainly make sure you look for the blood, make sure you find where that trail's headed, and proceed with caution that you're not pushing that animal. Make sure that you're proceeding with caution and not at all approaching that animal without having a gun or bow ready at your disposal to finish it off if you need to. I've been there, you may have been there too. I'm just suggesting. This hunt I was on, this past gun hunt that I talked about earlier in the segment, this guy's a veteran hunter. He's killed hundreds and hundreds of deer on his property, and this is on his own property, and he didn't even follow those same basic rules. And I wasn't thinking, because I'm just thinking about field dressing the deer. I probably should have carried a gun with me to dispatch that animal as soon as it got up and we push it out of there. But again, doesn't matter how good of a shot you make, always approach with caution. And always make sure you carry a good flashlight or UV light or white light or peroxide with you, however you hunt, wherever you hunt, especially for nighttime tracking. For this segment, I'm Dustin Warnke. Thank you so much for watching us today. Check out varmintlights.com and check out our website for more information and for more videos. Thanks again for watching us.